Hello, everyone to Forest Focus as we answer your questions today on topics including the futures of Nuno, Morgan Gibbs-White and Anthony Elanga. We'll talk transfers in and an exit from the City ground in the company of, first of all, Michael Temple. Temps, how you doing?
Good, mate. Emily's wedding week. She's off work for 3.5 weeks. Cricket season's in full swing. I don't think Mark's left the back cave since the season ended. So, yeah, we're all having very different periods in our lives at the moment.
We certainly are. We certainly are. Emily Anderson, how are you?
I'm very good, very relaxed, chilled. Yeah, like Temp
Yeah.
said, a few weeks off work, impending wedding on Saturday. So yeah, very happy and really happy to be on here. It feels like forever since I've been on.
It has been. It has been. But you're on twice this week, so we'll make the most of that, and we'll welcome our third guest, Mark Sutherns. How are you, Mark Sutherns?
Fully prepared, not rushed at all. I haven't left the XG dungeon actually since the season finished, so Temps is right there. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm all good. Looking forward to it.
Good. Apologies for being late. There was one person on the panel who might have forgotten we were doing this and has rushed into his seat in the dark to join us. So, yeah, thanks to everyone who submitted loads of questions. We had tons. And if you're a channel member, I'll go back and answer them all after this if we don't get to them. But we'll get through as many as we can and we'll go straight into it. Question number one from David Grattan. With Newcastle sniffing around Elanga and Morgan only having 2 years left on his contract, is there a possibility they both could leave? We'd have a huge war chest, but significant gaps to fill and more uncertainty with Aina, Hudson-Odoi and Nico yet to sign new deals. Temps, do you see any scenario where we sell more than one big player if we sell any at all?
No, there is any scenario in which two players leave. I don't think we'd want to lose either of those two players. And I think now there's a scenario in which both of them stay. Forest are in a position where it'd be very, very hard for them to replace players of that quality who contribute that many goals and assists, who are so central to the manner in which we play. So we are empowered to resist bids. Man City have done some business which may preclude them from pursuing their interest in Morgan Gibbs-White, and Anthony Elanga's got so much more to give. So I don't know what the others think, but I don't personally think they'll both leave, and I think there's a world in which they both stay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd be very worried if we sold more than one player, because big players, they're very hard to replace, even one. I'm not against selling one because of everything we discussed for PSR reasons. TC says, have we missed 10 minutes of the podcast? No, if we never start on time, TC. You missed about the introductions and one answer. So good to have you with us. Good to have everyone with us. What about you, Emily?
Yeah, I can't see a scenario where we're selling more than one of our big guns. And at the moment, I'm really struggling to decide which one we do sell if we have to, because my immediate thoughts come the end of the season was that it's going to be Morgan Gibbs-White that's going to be going, because obviously Man City were sniffing around him, and Fabrizio Romano was acting like it was a done deal, but that seems to have gone quiet. But also, I just find him really hard to replace because he's got that X factor that you don't find every day at a football club. So I think we need to do our best to get him to sign a new contract and to stick with us. Elanga, again, on the face of it, you could say, yeah, Newcastle are interested. We could make a really decent profit on him. But again, his pace and the way he sort of finished the season, we've got to keep hold of him. So yeah, I don't see a scenario where we lose both of those, and hopefully we don't lose either. But I can't at the moment see where that big sale's going to be, because I'm reluctant to lose anyone, which I know is ridiculous because we have to do that to be able to push on, to be able to get players so that we're ready for Europe come end of August. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
Robin Hood in the chat has asked if do Nico and Callum have 1 year options in the club's favour. I don't know. It hasn't been mentioned at all. We didn't know about the Ola one. It would certainly be beneficial if they do. Just before I throw it to Mark, I'll throw in a supplementary part of the question, which we can't answer, but it was one of the ones that tickled me, and I'm certainly here for it. Ant Coleman, quick question. A friend of a friend is selling a house in West Bridgford, and the other day Morgan and his family came to look at it, although I think the club was buying the house rather than him. Do you think this means he's more likely to stay, or does it not make that much difference and this club is slow to sell? I don't know, but it's the kind of question I love, Ant. So thank you for that one. I'll throw the whole question to you, though, Mark, unless you know about Morgan's domestic arrangements. One player going, no, two players going, no players going. Would you worry if we sold more than one?
Yeah, I'd like to think we don't have to sell more than one. And personally, as I said previously, I think it shouldn't be an attacking player. I would I would reluctantly lose Murillo before either Elanga or Gibbs-White. Mainly because we can find good centre-backs to replace Murillo. We won't find anyone as good as Murillo who can carry the ball and knock 60-yard passes, but you don't need that from your centre-back. What we've got is a unique luxury player in Murillo, whereas you look at Gibbs-White and Elanga, they're integral to how we play. We can play without a Murillo-type player as a centre-back. Many teams do. Can we play without the pace of Elanga and the creativity of Gibbs-White? I think it's very difficult. If I was replacing one of those two, it would possibly be Elanga. Again, it's down to the fact that I'd like to think you can find someone with pace and directness to take up that role, but someone who can hit the ground running and get as many goal involvements as Elanga has got over the last 2 seasons, very tough.
I'll throw a similar question from that to the other guys. NFFC 2000, aren't we 85 million clear PSR? I'll do my best to answer this without butchering it because it's so complicated. Reading an article in The Athletic, we can lose between 50 and 85 million, but our operating losses last year before transfer fees was 73 million. So that would walk us close to the line, and it is a reminder that the club runs at a loss, although it's more complicated with finishing higher in the league, more income in that sense, playing players bonuses, all that stuff. There's loads of stuff out there. Rafik, who's a channel member, has done loads of this on Talking Red, if people want to check that out. But it's not a crystal clear picture, certainly, and I've probably not answered it perfectly there. But yeah, we could keep all the players, but we'd be tight next year, more than this year, I think is the crux of it. Let's go on to our second question then, and it's not for Mark because he's already answered it there, and he answered it on the Keep, Sell or Loans podcast that we did. Sally Cinnamon, who's a channel member, if we do lose one of our big stars, who do you think it will be? Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Gibbs-White, Murillo. And if you had the choice in an ideal world, who would be easier to replace? So can you answer that one, Emily? Who would you reluctantly part company with?
Well, I've sort of briefly mentioned Gibbs-White and Elanga, and they're definite keeps for me. I mean, we clearly want to keep them all, don't we? So I guess it's between Hudson-Odoi and Murillo out of that group. I get that Murillo's easier to replace because he's a central defender and you can get a decent defender to partner Milenkovic. But just the worry is that extra stuff that he does do. I know it's a luxury, but it's also stuff that sets us apart from other teams. So I think if we could make decent money, I would reluctantly sell Callum Hudson-Odoi because of how cheap he was and the potential resale value on him. And also we know that he's not a striker that's fit all season. Sorry about my dog. Someone dared to walk past my house. I mean, who do they think they are? So I'll end my answer there. Short and sweet, Callum Hudson-Odoi.
There you go. I don't know who Freddie was barking there, whether it was...
He's a big Callum fan, is Freddie.
Clearly he is. I don't know how much Callum makes in PSR. I'd give Emily the chance for a rebuttal. I don't know if she can even unmute herself or if I have to do it.
I can, don't worry, I can unmute myself. Yeah, I just think out of the four, that would be the one that I would, like I say, I would sell because of the potential profit, but I don't want any of them to go, and I haven't even come to terms with the fact that we've got to lose one of them. So, yeah, but reluctantly, Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Baron von Farren says, is there a scenario where we keep our best players? I mean, yeah, there is. I think there is. Again, you do what we did last season. You sell fringe players, but I think you're backloading a problem for next season, potentially. But yeah, I think we could keep all of them. It just makes trading in the market really difficult at a time when we're trying to strengthen our squad. What about you, Temps, if you had to reluctantly part ways with one of them?
Well, just think about the career development from Callum Hudson-Odoi's perspective. Debuts for England really early. Looks like he's got the world at his feet at Chelsea, derailed by competition within the squad and a real bad run of injuries. I don't think he came to Forest to spend 10 years here. I think he came to Forest to get his career back on track. And for him, that probably does mean trying to break back into the international fold and appear in the Champions League. So if that kind of offer was there for him that could help to facilitate that, then I understand exactly why he would make that move. There's a chance he's going to run down his contract. There's a chance that Forest would want to strike before that happened, to look at signing a player on a more long-term basis. So I would accept the logic of a move for Callum Hudson-Odoi, both from his personal perspective and the club's perspective, the money was right, because we signed him for a paltry fee, given the quality of the player and what he's been able to do. He's proven his fitness by having 30 plus appearances, far more regularly than he ever has at any other point in his career. I think that Elanga, Murillo and Gibbs-White could be part of the spine of this side for a while to come. So reluctantly, he's the one of those four that I prioritise accepting money for.
People referencing his sell-on clause. I don't know how much it really is. I don't think it's ever been reported to what degree there is a sell-on clause. I'll give Mark a chance to weigh in on that whole question if he wants. If the guys there have swayed him at all on saying Murillo would be the one he'd let go.
Yeah, it's just what would you get for Callum Hudson-Odoi? Probably maximum 40 million, and there is a sell-on clause, I'm led to believe. I think Chelsea get quite a slice of that. Whereas Murillo would bring in 80, wouldn't he? And Murillo tempts you say it'd be part of our spine. He's not staying beyond next season, is he? I mean, we're getting this season and maybe one more. I doubt even that. I think he's leaving at the end of this season. I think if he stays with us this season, he has progression again, and if he progresses again from what we're already seeing, I can't see a Champions League team not coming in for him at the end of this season. So that's the reason why I'm looking at Murillo, because we get more money, and I don't see his long-term future at Forest. I just don't, because he is so special that he warrants playing in in one of the major European sides. And while we've progressed, we're not that yet. So yeah, it's with reluctance that we'd let him go, but I think it's the amount of money we get as well. We'd be able to do something with that. Whereas 40 million, and if 10 million of that goes to Chelsea, 30 million, what are we going to do with that? Is that enough to drive our push for European trophy and also top 10 finish? That's tough still, I think.
Yeah, if it's a distressed sale of Callum Hudson-Odoi in the last year of his contract, then we do apply that into finding someone else who can start on the wing. In support of Mark's point, if you sell Murillo for 75 million, 80 million pounds, you're not spending that on a centre half. You're spending 25, 30 and looking to strengthen elsewhere and build some headroom. So there's probably a scenario in which it's Cal in this window and Murillo in a year's time. But isn't it good that we've got these assets that have appreciated so much, that are worth 4 or 5 times more than what we paid for them, and we find ourselves in a position with these options?
The problem is Murillo would be worth 100, 120 million in a season's time. I mean, at the current rate he's improving, that could be a possibility. We're looking at 100 million maybe. We're not looking at that now, but I don't know where he's going to be in after this season. Whether that's with us or another club. He's an amazing player, obviously.
The main thing, I suppose, is we're in a strong position for any sale. Negotiating, we're not like scrambling to sell players, which is why I'm more on board with selling someone this summer than next summer if we are scrambling. And if it sounds negative, it's certainly not meant to. Right, before we go on to our next question, a word for the Trent navigation. Is this clashing with your wedding, Emily? Oh no, it's not. It's a week later, so you could abandon your honeymoon to go to
same bill though, same DJ bill as Emily's wedding.
Yeah, it's funny. He's
is it?
Mine, yeah. No.
Okay, so Saturday the 28th of June, 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. It is the 5th anniversary of Sainsbury's Festival of Love at the Trent Nav. And Alex P is headlining the Ibethan revival. Get your tickets by going to gigantic.com and they will sort you out. Is that up your street? I don't think it's up Mark Street musically. I think he's more of a Clash man or something.
More of a music snob, is that what you're going to say, Matt? Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
I don't know about that. I'm going to say it's more up Emily Street. I don't know if he is.
Really? I would say
No,
I think that's a bit too techno for me. I'm more of a bands girl, I would say. More of a commercial bands than that. But I'm sure it's great. I've not sold it very well now.
No, none of us have. Temps, can you at least lie and say it's your thing?
Is there any chance of Shaggy or Pitbull making an appearance? Because that's my jam. That was one of the best gigs I've been to last week. But no, I've known Stan since I was a kid, actually. So he knows what he's doing in that space. He'll put on a good lineup. And if dance music's your thing, jump in.
We've not had a Shaggy and Pitbull review, have we? Was it good?
Top class, mate. So to leave your credibility at the door and just get in there and let yourself go. I didn't have a bald cap. I wasn't dressed in a suit. And despite, I think, Shaggy and Pitbull being firmly in my era, the 3 Arena in Dublin was full of teenagers and young 20-somethings having a bit of a do. So I give Shaggy and Pitbull a 10 out of 10, even though the audience that I found in there wasn't quite what I was expecting.
A friend of mine turned 50 and celebrated by going to Ibiza on one of these sort of package things where for 50-year-olds to go to Ibiza and relive their youth. And I don't know, I'm 42 and I couldn't imagine anything worse, to be honest. But that's what he did. And I think that'll be Temps in 9 years, maybe. I don't know.
Dance isn't really my thing, mate. But you're forgetting I was a cheese DJ from the age of like 16 to 21. I'd pop around Nottingham in my transit van, regular at the 20th, 30th, 40th. Nothing credible, but yeah, I had a good time at that part of my life.
What an absolute window this has been into our world. We'll get back to the questions. So thank you very much for that. Where were we? It's a question from Rafi, who I mentioned earlier. If Morgan and Elanga end up staying for all of next season, which one gets more goal involvements, goals and assists, and how many? We'll say Premier League only. Emily, who would get more, Morgan or Elanga?
God, well, you'd hope they'd both improve on this season, as you'd expect from them. I would say probably Elanga, because he's got more goals in him, hasn't he? We want Morgan to have more goals, but I think he loves an assist, doesn't he? I would say probably Elanga if I was going to be a betting woman and look into my crystal ball right now, if he can stay fit because of his pace, because of his direct threat, and he's high on confidence. So yeah, I'm going to go Elanga.
How many for each? So start with Morgan. How many goals, how many assists? Premier League only.
Premier League only. I'd like to think that he could get 10 goals, maybe similar amount of assists, and let's be more positive with Elanga, maybe 14 goals. I know I'm thinking really positively here. 14 goals, 8 assists for him. If that comes true, then I need to start putting some bets on. But yeah, you'd like to think that they could both return double figures.
Mark, same set of questions to you. Who gets more and how many for each?
Sorry, dog's barking here now. Well, in FPL terms, Gibbs-White got 18 goal involvements and Elanga got 17. And Elanga played fewer minutes. It's very, very close between them. I'd like to think that Gibbs-White will up his goal involvement next season and hit double figures. So I do think that if we get a striker who can offer more outside the box, I think we'll see Gibbs-White getting more in the box in goal scoring positions. And I think that'll happen. So I'll go Gibbs-White over Elanga.
How many for each quickly? This won't be making the social media clip, by the way.
I'm going to go with him. Gibbs-White to hit 20 and Elanga to just fall short of that. So 10 goals, 10 assists for Gibbs-White.
Very good. It's a challenge to pick a social media clip when half of the podcast is people with their dogs barking so far in the background, but we'll manage it. Temps, what about you?
Yeah, no dogs here, Matt. So just use me. I've got them both. They've both got the capability to have 20 goal involvements next year. I think Anthony Elanga is most likely to do it goal heavy, and Morgan Gibbs-White more likely to do it assist heavy. So I've got 6 and 14. Morgan Gibbs-White 6 goals, 14 assists. Anthony Elanga 10 and 10. I like the way Elanga strikes the ball. I like how direct he is. Morgan is unselfish in some of those final third positions and celebrates assists. So I think if I've got one criticism of Morgan Gibbs-White, doesn't take enough shots on and doesn't strike the ball quite hard enough. So I see Anthony Elanga as more of a goal-scoring threat. Morgan Gibbs-White is the main creative force in the team. So targeting 20 for each. Morg 6 and 14, Elanga 10 and 10.
Yeah, that's all fair. I was thinking Elanga was my natural instinct because I think he's got more goals in him. I could see him having a breakout season where he doubles his goal tally and say it's like 12 and 10. And then Morgan's like, 6 and 12 or something like that. I would edge for Elanga. There's a comment here I was put from Richard about creative reliance. Are we too creatively reliant on Morgan? Did it ever become a problem last season? I felt like we were quite reliant on Elanga towards the end, but whose dog's not barking? Emily, do you think we're too creatively reliant on Morgan?
Yeah, you could argue that because we talked about that earlier, didn't we? About how we don't want to lose him because of that creativity. But we have got other creative players, haven't we? In Elanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Elliot Anderson. But yeah, we need more creativity up front, which is why we talked about not wanting to get rid of any of those attacking players, really, even though I said possibly Callum Hudson-Odoi to go. But yeah, there is a huge reliance on them. But we knew when we came up to the Premier League and Steve Cooper bought him that the team was going to be built around him, and every team has been built around Morgan Gibbs-White.
Let's go on to the next question from Stuart, and there's a follow-up on it that I'll do with the reverse of it. I'll go to Temps first because he'll give Mark time to think, because I know he hasn't read the questions. Stuart Benjamin asks, which player will find it hardest to replicate their form in next season, Temps?
Matt Sells. I just think he was just so exceptional in so many of those close games. He saved points for us. I think that the improvement season on season was immense. Yes, he had improved protection from one of the best centre-back pairings in the league, but time and time again, he came up with that big moment in a position in which it's so easy to find yourself in the firing line and criticise for the smallest of mistakes. So whilst I'm backing him to give it a good stab, I think it'd be really, really difficult for Matt Sells to be competing for Golden Glove again.
Mark, anyone spring to mind for you for that one?
Chris Wood, 29% goal conversion last season. I can't see him maintaining that. 33. We're probably going to have to change the way we play. That's what often happens. Premier League teams have to come up with in pre-season new methods of causing opponents problems. And while last season a lot of our play was centred around getting Chris Wood those opportunities, perhaps it won't be next season. So I think those factors combined will mean that Chris Wood will regress. But we had an incredible season out of him. We can't take it for granted we've got a 20-goal Premier League striker. Yes, factually we have, but he's had many seasons in the Premier League where he's not achieved that. I do think last season was a one-off, and so we can't expect such levels from him next year.
Any player for you, Emily, where you think it was maybe an outlier or not?
No, well, I was thinking about this when you sent the questions through. It was always going to be either Matt Sells or Chris Wood, because they both had exceptional seasons. They're both a bit older, and like both Mark and Temps have said eloquently, how can they replicate the season they've just had, because it was exceptional. Matt Sells to get a Golden Glove with Raya was incredible, and Chris Wood's goals. So, God, I would love them to have another season like that, but I can't see them both being able to perform to that level for yet another season.
Gary asks, how many does Wood need for 100 Premier League goals? Is it 11? I think it might be. If anyone knows the answer to that, I'll try and have a look if I can. But I think he's on like 88, 89. But I'll try and have a look, Gary. I'll flip the question then and ask, is there any player who's going to really hit another gear next season and kick on to another level? And I'll just do it the same order, start with Temps.
Yeah, I'll back Murillo in that regard. I think he's just going to benefit so much from having had a year alongside Milenkovic. He's always had that confidence on the ball to do sublime things, but so many of those moments have been nearly moments, apart from that headed goal, the spectacular long ranger, the mazy dribble hasn't come off to this point. But I think in a settled back four, which is what I expect him to be part of next season, he is primed just to go into another level of confidence, of knowledge of the opposition, and hopefully dominance over them. So whilst he's been impressive from his very first appearance, I think Murillo will find another gear next season.
I've got a name, but I'll ask the others as well. Mark, anyone that springs to mind for you for a breakout or real elevation next season?
Yeah, Murillo, if he stays, because he hasn't got that worldie yet, and we know it's coming, and he's tried a few times and got close. I think that, when he does do that, when he beats four players or smashes one in from 30 yards, then even more pundits, even more clubs will start to take notice. It'll be shown on show reels everywhere. He hasn't quite done it yet. I know you can tell he wants to. So I think that's coming next season, and I think his levels will go up, as Temp says. I'd like to think in attack, Gibbs-White and Elanga, as we've said, I think will step up further. Particularly, it depends on how we use Elanga as well. If we use him as more centrally, like we did at the end of last season. Anderson, he's 20 years old. He's running the show for England under 21s at the moment, isn't he? So I expect him to show even more of that all-round midfield talent that we've got there. So, yeah, I don't think breakouts, but certainly progression. And you've got to mention Nico Williams, I guess, in that as well, because he just gets better and better as well, doesn't he?
Elliot Anderson's popping up massively in the chat from lots of people. Was that one you were thinking of, Emily, or someone else?
Yeah, 100%. I've been watching him in the under-21s. I don't know if you've seen either of the games they've played so far, and he's absolutely running the show. He's showing his creativity. He's still really young. He's had a fantastic season with us, and I feel like he could really, really step up to almost be that Morgan Gibbs-White replacement for when Morgan Gibbs-White goes to pastures new. I really like the way he plays. I love his tenacity. I love the way he doesn't give up, but he's also got that X factor about him as well. So I'm calling it now. I think it is Elliot Anderson's breakout season this season. He'll be player of the season, I think.
Elanga was the one that sprung to mind for me, just thinking how he finished last season and the way he seemed to develop his game in terms of just the intelligence around it and playing effectively in the central role as well. Because we played him quite a lot through the middle as the lone striker, and he wasn't very good at it. But playing off someone as a lone striker and flitting all over the place, I thought he was brilliant second half of last season, obviously playing on the wing as well. So Elanga would be the one for me. Let's take some questions on transfers in. Just for that, do us a favour, if you're one of the 335 people watching, thank you very much. Firstly, do hit like and subscribe. That'll make a big difference. Jim Freeman asks, just been watching the under-21s. Is there any room for Harvey Elliott in our squad? And what do you think he would be worth? And there's a second part to the question, but we'll take that one first. And I'll go to Mark first because he's been an advocate for Harvey Elliott. And it feels like it was scoffed at initially, but it feels like it's gaining some momentum with the fans, Mark.
That was very much if we lost Gibbs-White, which I don't really want to think about, but I think he would certainly be a player who could come in and do a similar job to Gibbs-White. He's not as creative, he's not as industrious maybe, but he is perhaps more versatile, and he's got goals in him. He's shown that when on loan at Blackburn. He hasn't really had the opportunity. Well, he hasn't had the opportunities at Liverpool. There's no two ways about it. I think there's a quality Premier League player in Harvey Elliott waiting to come out, and if we don't move him and get him and give him regular starts, someone else will. I think he's already hinted this summer that he needs to move, and I think he's right. He's not going to get in that Liverpool 11, and he's of a level where he can play for a top 10 Premier League team, I think. So I'd love him to come. Unfortunately, if we keep Gibbs-White, I think he's the kind of player that we don't need. I would love to sign him, but I think we'll have priorities elsewhere. A more out-and-out winger, obviously another centre forward I believe we need. Cover at fullback, so cover at goalkeeper. So there's 4 or 5 positions we need before we start looking at a player like Harvey Elliott, unfortunately. So unless we do sell someone like Murillo and we've got a bankroll of many, a lot of money to spend, I don't think Harvey Elliott's going to be on our list, unless, of course, as I said, Gibbs-White goes.
What fee would he be, Mark, do you think? Is there a Liverpool tax for signing?
I think they'll ask for 40, and I think they'll probably get close to that, yeah. I mean, it'll be structured, so I think they'll get 40 over time for him, yeah.
Let me ask the second part of the question, and I'll do feel free to weigh in on Elliot if you want to, Temps or Emily. The second part of the question from Jim says, others are saying we should bring in Dusan Vlahovic, Johan Wissa and Evanilson from Bournemouth. Surely that would be too much for our wage budget unless we put Murillo here. I mean, even if we sold Murillo, I don't think we could get all 3 of those players. Vlahovic want absolutely insane wages. So I'll reframe the question slightly. Vlahovic, Wissa, Evanilson. Would you have a preference on either any of those strikers, Emily, or a kind of striker that you want us to sign? And do we need another striker if we get in Igor Jesus, which I think we are?
Yeah, I definitely think we need another striker because we've got Taiwo Awoniyi, who's not going to be playing for some time. Chris Wood, who's old now, so probably hasn't got long left in him. And I would say the obvious choice, because we know he's proven in the Premier League and he would really fit our style, is Johan Wissa from Brentford. It's whether the price is right for us, though, because of his age. I know is he late 20s now? So he's not going to have he's not going to have that sell on, is he? That we'd have if we went for an attacking player like Harvey Elliott, who's still really young. But I would be delighted if we could get that one over the line. And then if we had him, Jesus and Chris Wood, with Taiwo hopefully coming back towards the end of the year, then that'd be great for attacking options. So I'd go with Wissa.
Just on those players, almost knocked my water over. Yeah, I mean, I think Vlahovic would want like 200 grand a week. I don't know. I don't feel like that's something we could afford. Emily said about Wissa. Evanilson, Bournemouth signed only a year ago, and they're selling players. They're in a really strong position, so we'd have to pay a huge fee for them. So, any thoughts on those three temps or the striking position in general? Will we end up with another player we haven't heard of, like Igor Jesus? Do you think?
Vlahovic, I don't believe is even on our radar. That was just a throwaway line from a sourceless piece. I don't think that would ever be entertained. The only argument against Wissa is the age profile, because we're not looking to sign too many boys over 26, given how important that contract is for them, and the likelihood that they'll be sold at a PSR loss towards the back end of that. But the attributes that Wissa has would make him an exceptional player for Forest. I think that ability to play in multiple positions, the endeavour, the work rate, the all-round game, willingness to run from deep and also to be a focal point. I think, Wissa ticks a lot of boxes. All I would say about Harvey Elliott, I've just checked his stats, 5 goals and 10 assists in 94 Premier League appearances. He needs that move. And I think whoever backs him and gets him into their side will see a return on Harvey Elliott, both in the immediate term, the manner in which he improves the team, but also he's going to grow and develop as he becomes a regular starter. What he'd have to accept at Forest is, if he's coming in without the sale of one of the crown jewels, he's not going to be guaranteed a fixed position in that side. I think his versatility would see him used in a variety of positions. And if he's happy with that, and it's something that we feel we could do, say in the absence of Callum Hudson-Odoi, for example, I think he could be an excellent addition. But him coming in without us losing one of the three would be really, really tough for him to justify being on our bench or moving position week in, week out, given the manner that he's been used at Liverpool. Evanilson, like you say, I think he's 25, feels more affordable, feels more in line with the structure of what we're going to do. But does the Igor Jesus signing block that one? I think it probably does. So, 3 players of high repute, rate all of them. I just think there's a barrier in the way of all of them as well, isn't there? Be it the want of the selling club, the age, or the wage.
Here's an interesting one. Danscape makes the point, not many clubs do carry 3 strikers. We're going to have Chris Wood, Igor Jesus, who's a current Brazil international. We'll have Taiwo, who obviously can't play, but we've got to look after him. We've got to pay his wages. So I still wonder, I think we do need another striker. I just wonder if it'll actually happen or not when you lay it out like that. We'll rattle through, because Mark, you got to go by like 1:30, Mark. Is that about right?
Yeah, if I can. That's all right.
Okay. We'll try. We'll rattle through as many as we can if we have to let Mark.
I was late, so you can go on beyond that.
Do a speed round, Matt. Put the clock on us.
No. Well, this one will be a short answer if you thought of it in advance. Garibaldi Nerd. You can sign one player and one player only. What position? And if you know it, who are they? Emily, have you thought of that one?
Have we got an endless budget here, or is this realistic?
Realistic.
Realistically,
and it depends how you define realistic as well. It's still open-ended.
Yeah. So obviously, if we're talking someone that we actually could sign, and hear me out here. What about Darwin Nuno'S from Liverpool? Because we know he's got talent. We know he can play football, but we also know that he misses sitters like nobody else, and he's a bit of a joke, isn't he? And probably among Liverpool fans and football fans, but he feels like the sort of player that with an arm round him, proper coaching, a bit of Nuno love, that maybe we could turn him around like we did with Elanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and other players as well, Chris Wood, Matt Sells, who had an awful time at Newcastle. So I feel like he would be a great target for us. The only issue would be, I guess, wages. How much of a wage would he command? But I feel like that sort of player is someone that we should be looking at. Someone that knows the Premier League, but that maybe needs, like I say, that Nuno love to get them to the next level.
Yeah, I like that. If the money was there, and I'd be on board with that. Temps, anyone that springs to mind for you?
Jonathan David. Just the fact that he's available on a free transfer means he's likely to go to Saudi for mad cash or top tier of the Premier League. I just love the idea of us taking a punt on someone with no fee attached, giving them a way to play in an upwardly mobile Premier League team. I like the way he scores goals. I like a lot of what he does. But all of the challenges we've spoke about in terms of the fee on the way in and the impact on PSR, I think it's an unlikely one. Could have a lot of suitors, but I'd love to get one of the best free agents in the world through our doors into our setup with no fee laid out.
Mark, anyone spring to mind for you?
Well, it's got to be in that position, because I think that, you know, while we've got Igor Jesus in, it looks likely that's confirmed. He's unproven. So really, if he struggles, if he takes 10, 15, maybe even the entire season to settle, we've still only got Chris Wood. So we absolutely have to bring in a proven Premier League striker, I think, because I don't think we should look to start the season with Chris Wood as our starting number 9, because we've got Thursday games as well. And yeah, we want to be able to bed Igor Jesus in. So I think we talked about Wissa. I like it for everything but the age, as Temp says, and the resale value. But if we are to believe we were interested once, and you got to think we're interested now 6 months later. So that seems likely we'll go looking there. I do like Darwin Nuno'S as well. If we're going to look for a player that has got resale value, a player that we can help to flourish like Elanga has since he's arrived at the club, because perhaps Darwin Nuno'S, although he's had opportunities, never had 10 straight starts in the Premier League. And that's what perhaps he needs, that confidence, that faith to really, you know, produce the performances and consistency. There's raw talent there, there's no question. So, yeah, I think it has to be a centre forward, and ideally someone who's already got Premier League pedigree.
My name has consistently been, and I'll stick to it, and it's probably not realistic, but Palhinha at Bayern Munich, formerly of Fulham, if not him, that kind of player who can really make a huge contribution in the midfield. So I'll say Palhinha, as I always have done. We'll move on to the next question shortly. Just pull that a word for global telemetrics or a short video as ever. See you in 35 seconds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, stolen vehicle, Range Rover Sport 2023, stolen from the Nottinghamshire Forest area, swiftly recovered by global telemetrics on a secure operating centre. Vehicles equipped with a covert tracking device. Again, it pays to invest in security. An ecstatic victim who honestly thought they were never going to see the vehicle again, but they were protected, and this is what they're getting back. Disrupting criminality, together we can.
Thanks, Global Telemetrics. Thanks for everyone for watching that. Do us a favour, hit like on the video if you haven't already. We'll rattle on and go to the next question, changing tack slightly. A question from Castus the Red, also known as Steve Allen, but more accurately known as the Grim Reaper, with a typically cheerful question here. If we lose in the qualifying games to the Conference League, does the owner make a decision, bearing in mind the horrific run at the end of the season? Also from Sean Murray, will Nuno still be manager at the end of the season? Oh, crystal ball, where should we start? Start with Mark on that question around Nuno, which a few people are asking.
I think it's got to go very wrong, and expectations have got to be very high for him not to be in the job at the end of the season. It's a possibility, of course. Look at the start Wolves got from the fixture list. If we get something like that, if we get 10 really tough fixtures and we end up just like having 2 points after 10 games and out of the European tournament as well, then it's not out of the question. But you'd like to think, unlike O'Neill perhaps at Wolves, that Nuno has got significant credit in the bank now after what he's achieved. So even under those conditions, I think I'd have to question it. So it's possible, of course. We know Marinakis can be, you know, impatient, should we say, and his expectations will be high. But I hope that, you know, work is being done to level those expectations. You know, it really depends on what we do in the transfer market in the summer as to what we can achieve, I think, next season. And we have to be realistic with those expectations, both in the stands, but also, you know, in Marinakis and the backroom staff as well. So I'd like to think Nuno will be fine.
I'd like to think that performance in the Conference League doesn't dictate a manager's future. Certainly negative performance. You know, if we win it, fantastic. But I'm much more about the Premier League and how we go in that. And, you know, I think as long as we're comfortably 12th and above or whatever, and competing on multiple fronts. And I would really hope that Nuno's in charge and keep building incrementally as we have been. Well, we've been building more than incrementally, but yeah, I'd be really disappointed if any decisions are made on Conference League performances, and if the worst happens and we don't get it out of the qualifying round against Shamrock Rovers or whoever it is. That's what I would feel. Emily, will Nuno still be manager at the end of the season?
Yeah, I really hope he will, for all the reasons that Mark said. My only concern is if another club comes calling for him and he's tempted by an offer from another club. He's got so much credit in the bank. He's given us our best season in most of our memories, really. So hopefully he can build. And I can't see, it might happen, but I can't see over two legs that we're going to be going out of the Conference League in the playoff stage. And if we do, that's probably proof that maybe they're not interested as a club in that competition. So for me, like Mark said, it'd have to go really horribly wrong for him to be sacked before the end of the season. I just hope they give him the time to develop his squad, to add to that squad that he's worked with all season, and we sort of push up and push on for next year.
I mean, yeah, this time a year ago, there probably were question marks against Nuno Temps. I don't think there are externally now. I don't know about internally, but would you have any waverings or fears about his long-term future?
No one can have a question mark against Nuno at this point, given what we've all seen. I think from the second he came in, he freed the reins. He found systems which employed two wingers. He got the best out of a striker that wasn't particularly fancied at that point, and he's added value to the players that we've signed. So I'd be very disappointed if Nuno didn't complete next season. It would mean something's gone spectacularly wrong, given the opportunities that it's created. But we have to acknowledge that playing, let's say, 8 European games will be a distraction, will require more squad depth, and will impact on the performances of the preceding and following Premier League match. So it's not going to be an easy campaign for Nuno by any means. Is there any risk of us falling out of the Conference League before it starts? I don't think so. There's a shout at this moment, like you said, we could play Shamrock or Haverfordwest or Penny Bont or some equally unfancied side from far-flung corners of Europe. So I don't see it. I see us acquitting ourselves more than credibly in the Conference League. I think we're going to be a top 10 Premier League team. I think Nuno will end the season at Forest.
Hopefully so. Let's move on because we want to rattle through as many of these as we can. Question for Mark, really, unless the other two have got access to Opta stats. Phil Walton, it seems to me Forest very rarely shoot from outside the box or haven't scored many from that position. Are there any stats to back up that hunch? And should we be thinking out how to add that to our game? I don't know, any stats that you're aware of, Mark, that back that up or not?
Oh, yes, indeed. So basically, in terms of shots inside the box, 63% of our shots last season were inside the box. That was the fourth lowest. So in other words, in terms of percentage of our shots, we are fourth best in terms of shots outside the box. So we do take shots outside the box. We're just not getting a high volume of shots total. So only United, Wolves and Ipswich had more shot or higher percentage of shots outside the box than us. So it's not a question that we're not opting to take shots from outside the box. It's just that perhaps our shot volume needs to increase. We had 463 shots in total, which, just looking roughly, we're about, fifth or sixth from bottom in terms of shot volume. So that needs to go up. But in terms of our ratio of in and outside the box shots, it's very, very healthy.
Yeah, and I do think our quality of our shots outside the box probably don't spring to be in mind has been particularly good. I can't remember us pinging any in or testing the keeper. Even players who are really good at long range shots score. I think it was Coutinho had a really high volume for Liverpool, and he only scored about 5% of them. So it's just probably the reason teams shoot less is they're trying to manufacture that high percentage chance, but it's an area of our game to work on. I knew Mark wouldn't let us down there.
We scored 11 goals from outside the box. Only Man City scored. Yeah, only Man City scored more. So
11 goals. I can't
11
think
goals.
of many.
Yeah, 11 goals.
Oh, Ola, yeah, okay.
Callum Hudson-Odoi, of course.
Yeah.
Anderson. deflected.
Anderson, yeah.
There's a quiz question for the chat
On
there.
Chris
Can you
Wood, I
pretend
think,
like-
had
Chris
at
Wood
least
against
one, didn't
Palace.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and against Fulham. Okay, they're coming to mind.
Yeah,
there.
let's see, they're flowing in now. So yeah, I don't think there's any question that we're not a threat from outside the box. We are. Obviously, I think it centres on Gibbs-White. His shot accuracy needs to improve for sure. But yeah, I don't think the issue. I just think is we were a team that created few chances, but were very clinical last season, and we can't rely on being that team again next season, as we said when I talked about Chris Wood.
Yates against Leicester, there's another one. That's a good shout. Maybe it's just our free kicks outside the box are a bit crap. I don't know. We don't score many of them. Elanga scored one sort of when it was whipped in, but yeah, that was interesting. A good side note there. Right, next question. Thanks for that, Phil. Jeff P. I know it keeps getting dragged up every now and then, but any news on the main stand development? I doubt we'll go ahead with European competition on the horizon. So there's a council meeting, a planning meeting for Rushcliffe Borough on June 26th. The agenda hasn't been released there, but I think it might be on it, although it keeps getting put back. So we'll have to wait and see. Just on that, there was something from Business News Desk. Forest and the whole group have reportedly appointed, I'm sure they have because he posted on his LinkedIn page. I'm going to try another Greek name here. Wish me luck, everyone. Konstantinos, Chances Manolis. There you go. I know this sounds...
Conte, his mates.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Greek people read out names like Davies and butcher it. So I'm absolutely horrific at Greek names. So I apologise for that. Anyway, they've appointed him to revamp, maybe not on Star Ground, but the whole group's infrastructure from architecture firm Foster and Partners. So there you go. And I'll ask a follow-up for everyone from this question. Mike Forsyth asks, it feels like the only way clubs can progress from mid-table to top six consistently is to move to a bigger stadium. Is that fair? If so, do you think the ownership will be happy at the City Ground long term, or are they itching to expand? I'll ask everyone this one. I'll start with Emily. I'm sure you stay at the City Ground at all costs. Would you waver on that now as we see how hard it is to break into the top six and we reflect on the challenges of PSR, or not?
As a fan, no, because we've talked about this to death, haven't we? But the City Ground is the City Ground. It's our spiritual home. It's where we go on a match day. It's where we started to go and watch Forest. It's where we fell in love with the team. So speaking from a fan's point of view, I don't really care what impact it has on PSR or anything like that. I don't want Forest to move to a soulless bowl in the middle of nowhere. Forest's home is at the City Ground in Nottingham, and forever it shall be, as far as I'm concerned.
I wonder if I did a straw poll, or if someone did one, if the percentage would change for stay or go. I don't know if that is tweaked over time, so I'll ask everyone. Mark, what about you on that front of grounds moving?
No, I mean, I listened to Matt Ford speak in that recent Premier League Under the Skin video that came out a couple of days ago, and Matt was saying that he gets really emotional when he thinks about the place and what it means on a match day and what the atmosphere it can generate. And it's right. Yeah, it's more than just a home stadium. It's everything that it creates, and I just don't think we would be able to move elsewhere and get anywhere near that. So we'd be losing such a significant tool in our progress, because it played a massive part in the last 3 seasons. It played a massive part in the promotion season, and we'd be foregoing that, and that would be a huge gamble by the club. So yeah, I get the financial constraints, but surely the first option has got to be maximize what we've got to the biggest capacity we can, and harness that power and that emotion that the City Ground creates, that buoys both our team and often intimidates the opposition. So we've got to stay.
Something I was going to read out, but I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, someone said it's been 6 years. I was trying to find that out. It's a very long process, Temps. You'll know that from developments at Trent Bridge, so you can see why people get frustrated. Would you waver on that front now and think actually it's just too hard to get this development done, and for the long-term future of the club, moving might be better?
Like Forest are 100% staying at the City Ground. I think Marinakis is completely sold on that. He knows what the ground means to the support, to the players. He's seen it himself, and he sees the sporting advantage that it can bring. The atmosphere that we generate is part of the fabric of the club. There's no way he wants to move. would it be easier and cheaper for him to do it elsewhere? Yeah, I think it probably would. But you do that at your peril, don't you? And I think he has always celebrated our history, embraced the past players, embraced the European era and what it meant. And for him and for Nuno and for this group of players, it hasn't hung like a dead weight that has caused problem. It's something that has just perpetuated the mood around the club and the success that we're having now. But these things are tough. We've got a development ongoing at Trent Bridge at the minute with the pavilion. So I suppose a relatively modest project, but it's still 8 figures of finance, and there are challenges every day to keep these things moving at the pace you want them to move and to create the facility that you need it to have. Because of PSR, because of the manner in which the big clubs have feathered their nest to try and maintain this establishment cabal, if you like, of those that are competing in the Champions League year after year after year, you have to increase the resource that your club is able to generate. And of course, broadcast is important, but as is the amount of money you can command on a match day at your football club, and the City Ground sold out every week. It's simply too small now. We can develop it. I think the ultimate destination is going to be high 40,000 type capacity on that site, which carries so much history. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is the ownership group that's finally going to do it.
I'll ask you to stick your thumb in the air and see which way the wind blows, Temps. What would be, in your best guess, a time scale on something like that for it to all be completed?
Well, you're not going to get a spade in the ground now, are you, before the season starts? And I think, as we're finding with the timing of our development, you want to try and have 2 off seasons and lose 1 season. If you're going to squeeze every single working week out of a project of that size. So I don't think they get a spade in the ground before May next year. And they must be trying to work towards that aim. There's no point starting this at Christmas. Construction on steel projects on particularly sensitive parts of crane lifts can pause easily for 2-3 weeks in December and January. I experienced that myself when we were developing the Redcliffe Road stand here. So you have to be mindful of all sorts of things. You have to get the timing right of different phases of these projects. But I think it is realistic for Forest to get a spade in the ground at the back end of next season.
A couple of notes quickly. Mark earlier confirmed to me in the private chat it is 89 goals for Chris Wood, so he needs 11. And I was meant to recommend that Premier League doc if people haven't seen it by Premier League Productions. It's really good. I think there's lots of clips out on Twitter. Right, we'll go in a minute. So, any final words? Anything you want to add, Emily?
No, I think I'm done. No, that was good. It was nice to chat with you all. Already bored of no football, which is why I'm watching the under-21s. So yeah, looking forward to the next season. Anything
from you, Mark, before we go?
No, that documentary is really good. Yeah, Temps is in it as well. But yeah.
Oh, is it? Of course,
yeah,
bloody hell.
He's in everything, isn't he, these days? So yeah, no, it's very good and definitely worth a watch. Definitely, and like Emily says, I'm missing the football massively. I don't think the World Club Championship is going to be the distraction I want from that. So I'm looking forward to the friendlies already, counting the days to that. And I guess the window's open again, isn't it? Did it open today again? I think it did.
I think I read it did, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm refreshing Twitter all the time and I expect to see rumours come in soon. So let's brace ourselves for a busy few weeks.
Lovely. Temps, anything from you? Or any
rightly so. They only gave me 10 seconds of the film, but given that Matt Ford, Lee Westwood, Sleaford Modge, Yatesy, Nuno are all in there, who are genuinely part of the story and how things have moved on in a cultural and sporting sense in the city. I was happy to fade into the background. But yeah, fun thing to be involved in. I think the manner in which it's been edited and produced is really excellent. So yeah, Forest Under the Skin. I think it's on YouTube now.
A couple of bits from me. The link in the description for this episode, there is a link to buy tickets to our next live show, Friday, the 25th of July from 7 p.m. with podcast regulars Lewis and Kelvin. So Lewis and Kelv are on the panel. It's only a £5 a ticket. We'll have raffle prizes, quiz prizes. Hopefully will be entertaining. So do check out the link for that. Always a good night, and has been in the summer. Hopefully lots of people will come along. So that's Friday, the 25th of July at 7 p.m. If you're a channel member, in the next few hours, you'll get access to tomorrow's podcast, and it is with this guy. So here's a little clip of it.
It's everything. So like when I came to Forest, first time in the Premier League, I was anxious coming to the Premier League. I'd never done it before, and something I dreamed of doing. So Forest first of all gave me that opportunity. obviously going through 3 years. We've been through tough days when we've gone on like Fulham away. It was a tough day, and just we've had moments like that in the season where we thought, oh, we're 2-2 in certain games, and to come from all the way through that to get to this point here, to see the growth of the football club, to have a football club that's grown, that I've been able to grow with as a person and a footballer. There's stuff obviously off the pitch with the FA charge. The club stuck by me, so I'll be forever indebted to the club for that, forever. And it's something that I'll always want to come back. I'd always want to come back in some capacity to this football club.
So there you go. If you channel member, you'll get early access to Harry Toffolo's 40-minute interview today. If not, that'll be out tomorrow for everyone else. Do check that out. Someone asked if we'll ever do live events further away. Oh, I'd love to. We'll start a European tour in time. That would certainly be the plan. Right. Yes, lots of good stuff coming up. But do us a favour if you haven't already, hit like on this video, do subscribe, do consider membership or Patreon for the reasons I just mentioned, or just a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. It would be lovely. Mark Sutherns, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Temps. Thanks, Emily. Good to see you all.
Emily Anderson, thank you very much.
Harry Toffolo, thank you so much. I cannot wait for that. Oh, I love him. I love him.
He's a lovely guy. It's a good chat.
That's all I can think of right now. Harry Toffolo. He's amazing.
His song stuck in my head all morning, I must admit. Yeah. I should have asked him how much his song is in his head. That's one of the questions I didn't ask him.
Probably a lot, I'm sure. No, thank you for having me on. It's been great.
Lovely. Michael Temple, thank you very much.
Emily, if you're going to ask Toff out, you've got 6 days. And it's just taking all others over. So make a move or commit to the Leicester life. It's up to you.
There you go. There's the final question of today, the final challenge. Right. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good day. If we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.